Good morning and welcome to my channel. My name is Shoshana, and in this video I want to talk a little bit more about addiction and overcoming addiction, kicking addiction. This was a video that I was requested to make, and I was asked personally how I overcame addiction. So in my own personal story, have been addicted to tobacco. It was probably my first addiction. I started smoking before I was 13, and I quit tobacco when I was 25 or something like that, 25 for 14 years. And then I went back to smoking again when I was going through my divorce. And then I continued to smoke for another 7 years, and I quit again. And now I have been clean of tobacco for 3.5 years, and I feel like that's it. It's not an option for me. I learned my lesson with that. I've been addicted to alcohol. I've been addicted to weed. And I understand in addiction that I seem to have I'm prone to addiction. And addiction is not only addiction to substances that are outside of us. Addiction can also be addiction to behaviors or to ways of, it's a coping. It's some kind of mechanism that we use for coping. When we can't deal with life, then we have some kind of out, some kind of something that gives us satisfaction, or that gives us an out, or some way to a coping mechanism. And what I was asked specifically to talk about was how I dealt with the cravings. And so in the many different times that I have quit the various substances, dealing with the cravings, I've dealt with it in many different ways. So the first time that I quit smoking, it was super difficult. And I remember that I just went into like a depression, and I gained a whole bunch of weight. So it was kind of like swapping out addiction for addiction. You have to really, really, really want it. You have to want it. And the system that I used the first time that I quit smoking was just, first of all, quit cold turkey. What I understand from quitting addiction is that typically if you want to quit, you can't just do it gradual. You have to cut it and just decide. The decision is the hardest part of overcoming any addiction. It's the decision, because once you have that decision and that decision is solid, then every time that you have a craving, you become notorious about kicking that habit. And one of the things for me was that I refused to have something running my life for me. So when you are when you have an addiction, you could kind of see it as you have this entity that is taken over. Let's say, you could see it as a spirit. Even with alcohol, alcohol is called a spirit, right? So these substances, and you could also see ways of thinking, weaknesses. You could see them as spirits that are separate from you. So let's say the tobacco, when you use tobacco, it gets its light through you. It gets to be expressed. Marijuana, alcohol, tobacco, whatever the substance is that you are using, you are like its host. It's like a leech. It gets to be expressed in the physical world through you, and only through your using of it. Also, you could see that you could kind of put that same template on behaviors. So weak behaviors, in the Bible times, they were called demons, right? Demonic behaviors are behaviors that only receive light if you allow them to flow through you into the physical world. And so it's like they are these entities that get expression through you, but slowly they take over you. They take you over. You become their avatar. And rather than you having control over your own life, these addictions begin to control you, begin to take control over your life, and your consciousness is kind of hijacked, and it becomes a combined consciousness. And so if you can look at it like that as well, and then you can kind of see it as something separate than you that is kind of hijacking you and taking over. And that way of thinking really helps in saying, wait a minute, I this is my life. I received this body. I was very lucky to receive this body, and I am going to take full control over it. And that really helps in kicking the addiction. And through the cravings, so the first time that I quit smoking, I just sat through the cravings. I just sat through them. I let them be. It was like I was just, they were there. They were very intense. And I just didn't react to them. I didn't fight them. I didn't react to them. I just said no. And what I noticed is that the cravings would come and go, and they would become less. It's like a monster that you feed. If you feed it, it's strong, so it keeps coming back even stronger. And as you wean it, as you quit feeding it, the cravings become lesser and lesser, further in between, and softer, not as extreme. And so the more times you say no, first of all, the stronger you become, because every time you say no to a craving, you become more and more determined, and you have that in your pocket. And every time that you say no, then you're sitting on a larger pile of loot, you could say. Like, you're sitting on first of all, more time of you without the substance, and also it's like, I've already worked all this way to get to this point. I'm not going to fall now. And you become so determined that nothing will break you. And it becomes kind of like a game. It's like, you're not going to break me. No way. And you kind of play with it at some point. And the further away, or the further away from the addiction you get, the stronger you become and the weaker the addiction becomes. And so the first time was just pure determination. When I quit drinking, I think quitting alcohol, the addiction to alcohol, was, first of all, it was the worst addiction, because it takes over your whole being. It takes over who you are. It interferes with your life. It interferes with your relationships. It twists your way of thinking. It's like I used to liken it to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because in the morning I would get up and I would be like, I'm never drinking again. I'm going to be so strong in this. I was so disgusted with myself. And slowly, as the day progressed, you get closer and closer to the afternoon, to time that you start drinking, and your own mind starts playing games on you. You can't even trust your own self. And that is very difficult, because it's almost like you don't have control over your own mind. You're kind of losing your mind to the hijacker, and you can't trust your own self, and it creates severe insecurities, and also when you drink, you lose who you are. I remember towards the end of my drinking, there were many nights that I didn't remember in the morning. I would get up in the morning and not have any idea of what happened the night before. And some of my rock bottom moments was in that. Waking up and the people around me upset with me, and me not knowing what even happened, not being, and just getting glimpses of memories of not really even. And so it's kind of like not even being there for your own life. And when I went through rehab for that, when you look back, it's almost like you have this whole time of your life that's kind of hazy. It was like you were completely taken over. And I always say, if it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone, right? Because it starts out with just, a drink here and a drink there, trying to relax in the evening from the hectic work, or, you could also say with smoking, it's the same thing. And with the drinking, it was the hardest thing because of that mind twisting, because towards the afternoon already you don't remember why you didn't want to drink. It's like your own mind plays games on you. It's like you're hijacked. You have the spirit in you telling you, no, it's okay to drink. Everybody drinks. Why not drink? And I imagine it's that way with a lot of the addictions, also with tobacco, also with the weed. And so that one I went out to a rehab center, and I was there for 2 weeks. And when I was at the rehab center, it was the easiest because you're in a center. It's not, I don't even remember really craving it, but when you come home and you come back into your own life is when you start feeling the absence of it. All of a sudden it comes back full forte. My son's here getting ready. And so with the cravings, the second time I quit smoking, something else happened. It was like, just like that. It was like I got mad at myself for smoking. I took my whole pack and I threw it with the lighter, with everything, just threw it, and walked away. And at that, it was like a switch in my mind happened. And from that moment, I wasn't a smoker anymore. That's it. No cravings. I woke up the next morning and it was like I had never been a smoker. And that, I feel very privileged to be able to experience that. That's the kind of quitting an addiction that I think that every addict would want to experience. And that was just like a switch that happened in my mind. I went from one way to another way in an instant, just like that. But I would say, don't wait for those moments. What built up for that to have happened was a series of events that were so out of the ordinary that I would say, just if you want to quit some addiction, and typically if you are addicted to something, you know it and you want to quit. If you're telling yourself that you don't want to quit, you're telling yourself stories, because I do not know an addict that really doesn't want to quit unless they're copping out on themselves. And so sometimes you're just going to have to sit through it and just hold. And whenever one of those waves comes, just know that it will pass. And the more you say no to it, first of all, the less and less those waves of, those cravings will come, and the further in between, and the weaker they will get. And just know that if you are addicted to something, right, addiction is progressive. So the longer that you feed an addiction, the stronger the addiction becomes, the harder it is to get out of the addiction. So at this very point, your addiction is at the absolute weakest that it ever will be. Right now is the easiest that it ever will be to quit whatever the addiction is. It will not become easier than this. And I know that there's always the reasons like, I have this and this coming up, and after that, and there's always these reasons why right now is not the perfect time, but those are always going to be there. Yeah. I'm going on vacation. I don't want to quit right before I go to vacation, then suffer through the vacation. Or, the weekend is coming up and this person's coming over. So there's always reasons. Many of the times when I quit, for instance, when I quit weed, I quit more than one time. I quit a few times. And with that, I typically did like a ceremonial kind of separation from it, or I kind of did a ceremony and said my goodbyes. With cigarettes, it was more like, okay, at the end of this pack, that's it. And that's what I did. And with the alcohol, I tried to quit multiple times on my own. I didn't manage to quit. And then finally, I just decided I'm going out to rehab. That was the scariest thing I ever did. And it was only 2 weeks, but I had decided that there's no way I'm going back. No way I'm going back. I knew how hard it was to build up the courage to go out to rehab for that. And I had to leave my children for that time and go and get closed off in this place with these people that I felt like I had nothing in common with them, which wasn't true, but that's what I felt like. And I knew that in order to build up that courage, it took a lot, and I never wanted to go through that again. I also never wanted to lose myself into an addiction like that again. So with the cravings, it's just to sit through it. It's just to sit through it. You can find all sorts of distractions. You can go for a walk. You can take a shower. You can do dishes. But there's no easy tricks. When you're getting over an addiction, it is difficult, and just knowing that you can do it, just saying, okay, it doesn't matter. I can want a cigarette, or I can want whatever it is, and I'm just going to sit through it and better myself for it. That's what it is. It's the determination, and it is truly wanting it, and truly choosing yourself, and being determined to take yourself back from whatever is hijacking your avatar, and refuse to be in that weak state. So I hope that this was helpful. I'm sending you guys so much love. If you would like to meet with me, my contact information is in my website below. Thank you.